So, okay, guys, let's kick things off. This is a retrospective into 2024 Noloco edition. There's a lot of things that actually has happened in the world of Noloco, but also generally speaking in the world of low code. It's been a great year in general for us as an agency, and I'm sure for Noloco. But today is Noloco Day. I wouldn't name it like that, in a sense. And we've got a fun little activity to do together. This is not one of those boring interviews. We've got a spin the wheel cross newlywed game sort of thing happening. Although the newlywed portion of it is not so much for us to get the same answers, but rather to see what do we feel the answer is from our perspective, from the perspective of an agency owner, from the perspective of somebody who's a leader in no code and forges the path, i.e. Darragh, and also Gill, who is managing a community of experts in and around a SaaS app like Noloco, right? So let me share my screen. Hopefully you can see it now. Let me know where you can see the screen. I don't know if you can. Can you? Should be starting up now.
I can indeed.
Cool.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Let's kick things off. I'm going to try not to sound like a game show host, but I'm going to spin that wheel.
This is very exciting.
Alrighty. Right. So first question is, which industry unexpectedly embraced no-code solutions this year, do you feel? Let's give ourselves like 10 seconds. I'm going to write something down.
I hope this doesn't turn into a case of me and Darragh having the same answer on everything, but let's see. It's all part of the fun.
Definitely.
Oh, okay, I'm ready. All right, so my answer is, I don't think you can read that, but that is plastic surgeons.
Plastic surgeon.
Healthcare. What do you guys got?
Yeah.
Construction. Okay. Well, part and parcel of what we're doing is, of course, discussing the answers that we've given. Let's begin with you guys. So, construction. Why is it a surprising industry, do you guys feel? Because I feel like construction is almost like a natural industry to embrace no loco and no code by extension.
Yeah, I don't know if it's surprising by almost definition, but like it definitely we saw a huge uptake I think this year, and it's probably the lag in the kind of digital transformation of some of these businesses. Probably a lot of businesses saw that digital transformation accelerate post-COVID, so maybe construction are just catching up now, which perhaps says a lot about the industry and why no code is kind of suited quite well to them, I think. But for us, it was a breakout kind of among the hundreds of different categories that we see in Noloco.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah,
definitely.
I can't say I've seen any plastic surgeons, but I'm sure.
No. We had a client in that industry, and that was definitely a surprise. We did have some other healthcare clients, but plastic surgeons. How interesting! Because. And I guess it's kind of, I could have seen it coming because it's, generally speaking, healthcare, and we don't have to get into the weeds of, people's private data and all of that kind of thing. People need a custom CRM to manage processes. Now, we might not be tracking people's health data, but the doctors definitely need occasionally a specialist solution to manage their clientele. Gill, construction, same thing for you. You kind of
Yeah, I think, I think thinking about it, construction, it was probably lack of awareness or experience working in that sector or working adjacent to it in any way in my career before. But, um, then this all of a sudden in the space of a year, we're seeing kind of a growing trend. When you compare it to 2023, I don't even know if we had a single construction customer on the book. So that's, I suppose, why it stood out to me. But I think, yeah, when you dig a little deeper, it makes complete sense, why they are embracing no code. Like, they're, generally speaking, moving from the world of spreadsheets into something like Noloco. And there's no real off the shelf solution that we know of anyway that is serving the construction vertical. So they're kind of then stuck in this, I suppose, spot of needing to digitalize, not probably having an extensive team to help them, probably have one or two people in the company that's been hired in to do that job. And they're now faced with the challenge of moving everyone from spreadsheets to digitalized solutions. So, yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. It's really cool to see what some of the construction clients are doing on Noloco. We've got like one standout customer that comes to mind that has pretty much everything in one solution, from CRM probably being the entry point, project management as well, of course, that's huge in that industry, and then growing it into like a full internal tool that supports the entire business, like employee directory, time off requests. So it's really cool to see. And I think, hopefully more and more companies from that sector will embrace it and realize they can do it, and realize that it's a really easy sell to their business as well, right? They're talking about massive, like if you think about spreadsheets for a second and like managing a project off a spreadsheet, these construction projects are super complex, can run over years, tons of people involved, probably lots of turnover in one project life cycle as well in the company because they're so long, and each mistake they make costs so much money. So I think if they systemize those processes more and more, and we're seeing construction customers do that, it's such an easy sell into the business to be like, let's use this solution instead, because I can save everyone X amount of money and headache and time. So it makes a lot of sense when you actually dig into it and think, why are they coming to no code? I think that's for me why, but an interesting learning.
In all of the years as an agency owner, I haven't seen that many construction companies. So to me, this thing, your answer kind of about construction and how it's slowly getting there into no code, it's interesting because I can't say we have particularly a huge amount of construction clients. Maybe more around real estate. You can't really call that construction. There is an element of it. We had clients somewhat recently who they were a construction company in Canada. And the interesting thing is that it's almost like a no-brainer for the construction industry, but I guess it's hard for them to, because there's so much responsibility in what they do, like building houses and having everything up to like the legal standard of that. They worry about how these newfangled Gen Z IT systems work. But I guess now there's a bit of FOMO maybe kicking in with AI, and I don't know. But anyway, let's let me share that screen again. Let's move on to the next question because we have
I'm just glad that two of us have already got one in common. I didn't think it was gonna happen straight away.
Let's
see. Spin that wheel.
Let's do it.
Let's see what's next. Innovation spotlight. What type of innovative app or feature developed in Noloco in 2024 do you think impressed you the most? Okay, this is a tough one. Okay, easy.
A tough one and then easy.
It is a tough one.
This is really
a tough one, but I think I've got one that is definitely impressive. I'm basically ready.
Gonna need a minute.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm biased to some of the things we've done, but want to spotlight one of our customers.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna give an example from a customer, I think.
Yeah.
Where I'll put a bit of context.
You don't have to name any customer, obviously, but it's the feature.
No.
Or maybe an app.
Yeah.
That was kind of interesting. I've got a feature.
I have a feature, but I
Okay.
can give some context around
Nice.
the app as well.
All right.
Yeah.
So my feature is, and I don't know if you can see it, barcode scanner.
Nice. Yeah, barcodes.
Oh, nice. You're keeping it
Cool.
simple.
I am keeping it simple, but innovative. AI
Can you read?
enhanced workflows. Interesting.
I gave it a little bit of context around the use case. So project briefs and user stories. So I'll explain a little bit more in a moment.
What have you got? Pivot table.
Terrible
Nice.
handwriting.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Great
Jill,
feature.
this time let's start from you. Give us a little bit more context on the AI
Sure.
workflow feature.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of apps that are slowly starting to adopt AI enhanced workflows. But one that kind of stands out as a concrete example I can share is using it within our Noloco workflows. The app was a project management tool / client portal. It's one of our customers. They kind of operate in the software development space, and they're a business that's based in Latin America, South America. So most of the developers are like non-native English speakers, like with Spanish being their first language, but their client base is largely English speaking based in the US. So big part of their process, of course, is their project managers have to create detailed briefs with user stories about the project they're going to deliver to the client. And the client, of course, comes in and then approves the work before it starts. But one of the things that they were, not struggling a little bit and doing it in an efficient way is creating that detailed brief when English isn't their first language, right? And they want that brief to come off as very polished and professional and, provide the best experience to the customer and make it very clear to them. So yeah, basically they were writing the first draft in either Spanish or either in English, maybe they're broken English, and then just simply clicking a button to use we've loads of different prompts, obviously, in the AI workflow. Actually, but the two that they were using was, improving the spelling and grammar and correcting it and improving it for readability. So they had like a very tailored instruction that was pulling lots of different fields that they were inputting to create the brief. And then out came the output, and that's the output that the client sees. The client doesn't see any of the initial work that was put in to the system or into the tool by the project manager. So, it just completely speeds up their workflow, gives them peace of mind that what they're putting out is accurate and is what the client expects. And just solved a massive problem. I think it's one of many examples of where they used AI, but I just love that one because I think it's
Really
a very
practical.
tangible, good
Very
reason.
Really
Practical. Exactly. That's the word, practical.
I think
I think that many people can relate to. Yeah.
And so I think like where AI shines, it's not the thing you do once a month. It's the thing you do like 8 times a day. And you just want it to be like significantly better, right?
Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
Because if you do it once a month,
really
you can
like
open a new tab and paste it into ChatGPT or whatever.
But when it's all embedded,
You're baking it into your
it's just
workflow.
a button and it's there. No more
Darragh,
copy paste.
I think it's been
Pivotables.
a big year in terms of new features.
Yeah.
Many. Out of all of these pivot tables, was it the difficulty of pulling that off? Why is it such a why did that come?
Yeah. Well, okay, let me talk about the difficulty for a minute. Like, everyone knows that pivot tables exist. Very few people know how to use them, including me and the engineer I tasked to build them. Right. So like step one was like, go use like pivot tables until you can like write down what they actually do. But I think for us, the reason why pivot tables were put on the roadmap this year and became so important is Noloco is a place for getting work done and, getting insights from your work and kind of using the data that you already have and drawing better insights from it. And most tools completely neglect that. Charts are okay. And look, our charts have a long way to go too. But the pivot tables add this extra dimensionality by being able to break things down over quarters or months or years by salesperson, by geography. And, it's very difficult to do if you're using any other kind of spreadsheet
100%.
tool other than, say, like Google Sheets or Excel. And most importantly, it's very difficult to do with permissions and filters and all these other good things kind of built in and live data. So like the minute we added them, we added like 5 or 6 to our app to, track things like MRR by customer, MRR by partner. Like we have really granular breakdowns now, kind of tracking the growth of these things over months, and we can just kind of get that stuff at a glance. Whereas before it was like loads of reports and each month figuring out how to build a pivot table and that sort of thing.
That is so true. Pivot tables are a feature that you don't, at least we as an agency, we don't think about it because not most, but like a bunch of our work is MVPs, and we launch them and we just go. Pivot tables is one of those niche features that we always historically needed to go outside of whatever system it was, into Google Looker Studio or something else, or try to hard code them and only update them once every day or something like that. So the data was by no means live. But now that we have that, granted, it's not like some kind of super glossy, super sexy thing to look at. But people who need pivot tables, they don't care about the glossiness of things. They care about the data. And it was definitely one of those. I was kind of surprised. I didn't expect to see it, but I'm really glad that you guys launched it. Now, barcodes. So barcodes.
Yeah.
To me, there was only one other system that could do barcodes, and that was AppSheet, at least in our arsenal of apps. And having barcodes on Noloco, plus I should have actually written in parentheses somewhere PWA. To me, that signals one thing.
Oh yeah, that was
this year. So to me, this signals a very clear move from Noloco's side that we are moving towards more of or at least we're taking very definite steps towards catering for people who use Noloco on the phone. Very important thing. So yeah, that was one of my highlights because it's again a bit of a niche feature. I can't wait for it to be even more polished, even more refined with, I don't know, maybe making sound when you scan a barcode or something like this. But just the mere fact that we have it and we can use it and we can implement it wherever, it opens up so many different doors. We have clients in motorsports who use barcode scanning feature to track stock of spare parts for racing cars. And yeah, of course, it opens up the doors for warehouse management and that sort of area. But yeah, that was definitely a highlight. Now, Darragh, you're about to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say, like the kind of looping back to our first question or the other round, like why we answered construction. I think a big missing piece for why like construction agencies are now adopting tools like Noloco is that they are on mobile, because like, office staff or site managers, whatever, are on the go all the time, and having their data accessible is just mandatory in 2024. Right? And
let alone that it's
kind
live.
of
like the moment you change something on the phone, you can see that change immediately propagated on the desktop. You don't have to refresh. You don't have to do anything.
I think it makes a huge difference to them, and kind of the value is so clear.
Definitely. Okay, guys, sharing my screen again, and it's time, to spin that wheel. Right. Oops, I need to spin it, and I should have removed that question. So let's hope that it doesn't. Yeah. All right. Cool. So, what was the biggest challenge Noloco overcame in 2024? All right. Um, mm, this is tough.
It's a hard one, yeah.
This is. I'm ready.
Same.
Everybody ready? Jill, what do you got?
Yeah. So this is what I've got. Can you read that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think hiring is a key theme from Noloco 2024. So I think balancing just the operational day to day with that very important task was
Darragh, what
challenging
have
for me
you
this
got
year.
before we begin the conversation?
Similar.
Scaling
But
everything.
Yeah, that's fair.
yeah, from team to everything else.
Speed boost.
Speed. Yeah, well, that was one thing I was going to mention as part of scaling.
So,
yeah.
Jill started last time. Let's go with Darragh. So, Darragh, scaling everything.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many different things that happened. I know you had a move as well. You moved to Barcelona. There were changes.
Yeah, Spain, yeah.
And on top of these changes, you have
That
to
was
scale
awful.
everything. How?
Yeah. So yeah, when you first kind of did, I kind of thought back to what we've overcome in the year. So I mean, team wise, we've basically doubled, and that's like not that it was that difficult, but we're pretty small to begin with. But we've basically doubled the team. But you know, in terms of customers, more than doubled. And there was a lot of things that were designed to work at a certain scale that just, you know, started falling apart, and we just had to respond really quickly with a really small team. A few kind of things, you know, Airtable Live Sync, that worked really well when we first launched it, and then customers grew, Airtable changed, lots of things happened, and we had to just kind of figure out something really solid there. And it took us a month or two to really dial that in, but we got there, and it's, you know, scaling exceptionally well. Like we barely have to think about it. The kind of speed boost you mentioned, that came pretty early in the year. But yeah, like very reliably, you know, performant. We know now how to scale up and down when we get loads of new customers, or when we get loads of new live apps, or when some customer has like a, you know, massive data set with loads of those customers. Yeah, all these things we've kind of figured out. We know how to respond now, but it took time, you know, and I think it was a big challenge, a big learning for the whole team, in combination with scaling the team, as Jill said, like balancing that, like how do we get more people in? How do we interview while also putting out fires? You know?
Isn't it interesting how you get new, different problems the moment you scale your team? Like there's some things that from like, if you take a look 6 months ago, you were doing A way, and now you're doing them completely in a B way, but only because the team has scale. And there's also different challenges that come with a bigger team. The weird thing for us when it comes to growing a team is you also seemingly get more projects. There's something like magical that happens, that you get more leads and more. Some people say that this really comes down to, oh, you have more time. No, I actually have more leads, which is odd. But I've seen that kind of thing, like more business. As your team grows, your business grows in terms of revenue. Anyway, Jill, so hiring and balancing day to day. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that was a challenge for sure. I think, you know, as Darragh said, like we did double the team this year, and hiring is such an important thing in a early stage company that you need to really make sure you're picking the right people and you're adding the right talent to the team. I think we've done a really, really good job at doing it, but with that process, you really need to give it your consideration and time and not rush it, and at the same time grow the company, you know. So it's just challenging to spin both plates, I think. You know, and probably some things had to take like a back seat in terms of like projects, and could take a bit longer to complete for that reason. But I think it's a very just reason, you know. but I'm very excited now where we're at. You know, where we're ending at the year with like a double-sized team, and what we can do next year, and everyone's ramped as well. So I think we have a really, really exciting year ahead of us, and it was worth it. But there was no like one Mount Everest challenge, I would say. It was just the daily challenges of running a startup, you know. Like growing a company, you have one good month of growth. We've had pretty good growth this year, right? Very repeatable growth rate. But every month you finish and you're like, God, I hope we have the same repeatable growth next month. What do we need to do? And what do we need to focus on? And yeah, it so far so good, you know. But you're kind of sometimes wondering when are the wheels going to come off.
Speaking of hiring, I want to ask you, is there a magic bullet? Like, what do you guys look for? Is there some kind of magic formula that lets you know that at least from a first, second, third interview, this is great? Is there something that you're looking for? I'll give you my answer while you think. So one of the best kind of like factors that I've noticed, not just as an agency owner, as a business owner, but also while working in other roles, office roles typically, but actually not just office roles now that I think about it, it's when people have something to lose. Like that characteristic alone is a fantastic indicator that XYZ person definitely is probably a good bet. Is there anything that sticks to your mind as a key thing?
Yeah, it's tricky and it varies per role, but I think the thing that's consistent is the combination of enthusiasm and potential, but most importantly, potential, right? You can hire the most experienced person in the world, but if they're just there to like clock in and out and, you know, get their job kind of done and, you know, not really innovate, they're not going to be any use to you in, say, 6 months' time or 12 months' time when you've got a different set of problems to solve. So if you've got an enthusiastic, you know, someone with like a lot of potential, and that might mean someone quite junior compared to someone with like 10 years of experience, they're a better hire, like always. And that's how we're thinking about it.
How do you
like,
foster that? How do you foster the enthusiasm? Because enthusiasm, for me, it's also a very crucial thing. Like if I'm just about to hire somebody and they're like all gloomy and down in the dumps, yeah, I would really love it if they could be a little bit more enthusiastic about what we do versus, you know, dreading working here. And typically they are, but how do you foster that enthusiasm from your end?
Yeah.
It's tough.
Probably jump in on that as well.
Yeah, I do. I'd love to hear from your end.
No, I would say like I somewhat agree with what Darragh said, and I probably would have phrased it slightly differently, but it's the same answer underneath the hood, you know. But and it kind of answers your question, because where I spot excitement, enthusiasm, and potential in the interview process is usually when we run a challenge, which we always do for any role that we list for any department, you know, any team in Noloco. So the challenge will always really reveal somebody who is thinking creatively, but also excited about Noloco and wants to show off like their way of thinking about a problem. And it's always kind of framed around a problem, and there's always some sort of output that they have to present. So the people that I feel most confident about hiring are the ones that I come away from it like feeling excited and energized myself, because they put that into it. So if I think about all the people we've picked, it's usually because they are a standout at that point. Because all the preliminary conversations before that, like there was a lot of really strong candidates, you know. But I feel like that's the stage where we really spot the good one, you know, that we picked.
Totally agree.
So yeah, that would be my thoughts on that.
The technical take home is it decides everything more or less, you know. You really see if they can do the job or if they can't.
But would you value like, technical skills over enthusiasm, or I can be enthusiastic as hell but fail?
So it's enthusiasm with potential, right? Because if you have potential but you just like you don't want to go to work, that's no good to me, right?
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it's potential to learn really quickly, adapt to, our processes, because that's the other thing. Like someone with like 10, 15 years experience might be so stuck in their ways, so they might just clash with every single decision that we make. And it's not like we're looking for people completely malleable, but it's a little bit easier than kind of having someone bump up against you with every single like process and decision,
sure.
right? So there's that element to it. But how do we kind of foster that enthusiasm? The easiest way is keeping people interested, which is what we've got. Thankfully, is an incredibly ambitious problem. It's really changing the way customers work. It's not changing the world per se, but it makes an impact to our customers, and hopefully a lot more. But and often their customers or their team.
It's changing somebody's world, because
precisely.
technically
So
they
you gotta
spend
keep
8
sharing
hours
that
a day.
message.
8 hours a day, 5 days a week at work. And Noloco is not necessarily like a game engine or something. It's professional software, right?
Precisely.
So that means that they are using this versus a spreadsheet. Hence, somebody's life has changed. Maybe world.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, just trying to relay that message, trying to, get people behind exciting projects, giving them difficult challenges that they want to solve, and keeping that's how you get motivated people to do great work.
Okay.
It's when you just give them 6 months of like putting out fires and fixing bugs, that's when they move on, and that unfortunately can and
Well,
has
there is I will agree to disagree.
some people love it that.
At least from
fair.
my perspective, I feel like challenges and those kinds of hell weeks or hell periods, they build this kind of camaraderie as well within the team. They show people's character exactly when it matters. I remember during my tenure at a company in London where I was like the IT manager, we were doing a move to 3PL. In other words, we were moving our warehouses from managing them themselves to handing over the keys to a third-party logistics 3PL company. They would be tracking our stock, they would be running the deliveries, they would be tracking our returns. And that was a very difficult 3 months. Difficult to the point where, we would get screamed and shouted at by so many clients who've just spent thousands of pounds with us, and they're asking the very simple, genius question, where is my stuff? Or and they are also kind of like, they were in the construction realm, so deadlines were of paramount importance. And when you've ordered something from a manufacturer, it doesn't show up on time at the construction site, you have incredible costs. So I remember during my tenure there, that's right before going into this, we actually had a new person in customer service, and she was there, but she couldn't really care less all that much. It was just an admin thing. And prior to starting this project, I was kind of like thinking, you know what? I mean, she's here. She's gonna go. Turns out, and she had this like sort of devil may care attitude towards the role. After the moment, excuse my French, shit hit the fan, she just turned into this freaking tigress, into this freaking lioness of customer service. She wouldn't take crap from anybody. She just transformed. So I don't know. I guess hard times also build great team members, or at least they show who you really are, because on your CV and on the first 3 rounds of interviews, you could be a very different person compared to when somebody's just, or everybody's apps stopped working or something like that.
Tell me about it.
Shows.
No, completely agree with that. Yeah.
Well, okay, guys, moving on to the wheel. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to spin it. Spin that wheel. Oh, this is a Jill question. More than anything else. What's a standout? So what's a standout moment from the Noloco expert partner community this year? Okay.
Kind of cheated with theirs, kind of two.
All right. So, everybody ready? I've got meetup at Paris.
Oh,
nice. I think mine says growth and connection, but
connection kind of in line with your point, abstract concepts. But we'll peel that onion.
Yes.
Darragh, what have you got?
I'm more with Alex here.
Brilliant.
Even though I wasn't there for a long time, I think not to steal the thunder here, but like for me, knowing that we created a thing that can pull, what was it, 10-ish people together in a random city in Europe on a random Tuesday, that's pretty cool, Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So it's great, man.
That's boiling it down to that. It was a cool moment.
Well, for me as well, meeting the guys meeting you guys in the flesh at the No Code Summit. That was definitely a highlight. Meeting Kieran as well and a few others. That was also a huge thing. So yeah, that was definitely a big highlight for me. Jill, let's unpack your abstract concepts of growth.
Yeah. So the connection one was that it was connecting at the No Code Summit. So we can park that one. There's nothing really more to add to that. But obviously, it was so fantastic, obviously, to meet people in person. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think the growth angle for me is like, if we take ourselves back to October 2023, our first No Code Summit, there was no formal partner program.
Oh, yeah.
We had probably about 3 to 4 partners, with one of them being Sonorus, yourself, Alex. I think you predate me joining the company. You've been there since day one, really involved with testing early
Actually,
versions
it was
of
just
Noloco. So
it wasn't Noloco. Yeah. It was just no.
Yeah. So yeah, for me, it's just been the growth of it. So January 2024 this year was when we really started. We decided, that it was time to pump some resource into it and really formalize the program. Darragh had done a really good job spinning all of his plates as CEO, and as well as trying to kind of kickstart a partner program. So I jumped into that role with 2 feet, and haven't looked back. And yeah, it's just been really rewarding to see us go from like 3 to 4 partners. I think we're now at like 30 service partners, which is crazy to think in a year. And yeah, it's just been very satisfying in that of all the like profile of customer, user of Noloco, those in the no-code expert space and the no-code community have really like just fallen in love with Noloco, and they usually have glowing feedback, and they usually pick it up really quickly, and they adopt it super quickly and can immediately see like where they would position Noloco with their clients. So for me, getting that like day-to-day kind of feedback as I made people aware of what Noloco's doing. I mean, they always heard about our name, but they just needed someone to really kind of hammer down the door and say, hey, look at us and check us out. And we've been successfully converting more and more people to join the program, and that'll definitely be the plan for the foreseeable looking ahead. But yeah, just the growth, it's massively grown. That's kind of the highlight for me, really. And then obviously getting to connect with you in person in Paris was really
are we going to
nice,
do Paris next year?
Yeah. I would like to, personally.
Yeah, it's local, so it seems sensible.
Yeah. I think it's important to support those types of events, and again, it's local, and that's where we generally speaking get to meet our partners. So I'm kind of hoping, 2023 we had like, maybe 3 people that weren't officially partners but were inadvertently, and then 2024 we had around 10 people we knew at the event, and hopefully next year it'll be even bigger.
Let me throw you
so it'd be nice to kind of see
an
that.
idea here. Come on, it's like what? It's right there. It's staring you in the face. Noloco Summit 2025. Like, that would be awesome, because technically you can stick all 30 of us or 15 of us or whatever in a little conference room and give it the beans and get some speeches arranged and fireside chats and whatnot.
Yeah.
And make a day out of it.
I think you're right.
Because a lot of platforms do.
Yeah. I was going to say Make Waves was like the other week, and that was pretty cool. You can definitely see how Make got behind the community and brought everyone together, build a lot of hype. You can invite prospects, you can invite long-standing customers. You can invite all the partners. It's a win-win.
Absolutely.
Really.
Like I almost made it to this year's Airtable event. Some things came up, but I was there last year. And all it was really just a nice, chilled afternoon, like evening, essentially. Had some drinks, partners, clients, met a ton of people. Heard some client testimonials, heard some partner testimonials, heard some of the things that are sort of like coming up in the new year. Partners got to ask questions. Of course, it doesn't have to be somewhere fancy or anything, but I feel like I would book that plane to come to Dublin or Barcelona, wherever it is that you guys decide to do it, in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
I definitely think it's something you should start dreaming about, thinking about, maybe planning. Of course, there's so many different things that you guys you've got your hands on right now. So, but like, we're planning a retreat for our company for next year. Because we are also fully remote between 3 countries. So we're organizing something for next year, Christmas, just to gather absolutely everybody in, fly out everybody from wherever they are, and their families maybe, so that nobody's left behind to a degree. I mean, not like extended family and cousins and whatnot, but
very generous of you,
Alex. So yeah, definitely.
That's nice.
Something to think about. Okay, let's spin that
for sure.
wheel.
Let's do it.
Here we go. Share my screen. Okay, let's go. Ooh. Interesting. Personal achievement. What's a personal highlight for you within Noloco in 2024? There is a pattern here. I feel like we've kind of answered some of this. But this is a different.
Yeah.
Personal. Oh yeah, definitely. All right.
Jill's writing an essay.
I know.
Okay.
All right.
Jill, go ahead.
Okay. So
ecosystems and partnerships.
It's a year of learning about. Yeah.
All right. Darragh, what have you got before we give the mic to Jill?
Mine sounds really negative, but I do want to expand on it. But
stepping away from life support.
Okay, yeah.
Stepping away from life support.
Ah,
I'll
negative.
I'll explain why that's important in a minute. Let's see yours.
Pulling off launch week in August.
Really?
Oh yeah, nice. Yeah, you did a great job there.
And I think
Yeah, nice.
that was
That's a good
tough on Darragh as well, and Gill. So
That might be true.
okay, well, Gill, let's kick things off with you, and then we'll get to Darragh.
Cool, yeah. So yeah, there wasn't like one achievement. I feel like it's just spans over a number of months, of going from, very little knowledge about growing and scaling a partner program and starting to do that. And I still have a lot of learning to do. But yeah, this year has definitely been a year of learning. Like my background and career to date has always been like pre-sales, solution engineering. I've been in tech companies where they have ecosystems and they have partner programs, but never worked within that function or very much worked adjacent to it. So I didn't have to think too much about it.
Let
and
alone
what that
leading
involves. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's been just a massive year of learning, really. And I think like just started thinking back as well again, like as an SE, I suppose I've always had exposure to it, and I know who the key partners were and like the key individuals were in making that ecosystem a success. Working with implementation partners on like Salesforce deals at my prior company that I was working in before joining Noloco. So, taking what I knew a little bit about that and then just throwing myself into books and podcasts and following leaders in the partnership space on LinkedIn and whatnot, and just kind of seeing what works and what doesn't work, and then deciding like with a really exciting blank canvas like that I had before me to kind of decide what will work for us and make calls and lay a foundation to grow a partner program where
any
partners
good
can actually
suggestions
succeed.
about like some key takeaways from this year of learning and spearheading this?
Yeah, I think like what are some of the things that have worked well? I think like having more formalized like learning and enablement and more formalized onboarding of new partners is really important when you're trying to attract people and then I suppose validate that you're confident that these people are going to be good partners for Noloco, because you're obviously vouching for them with customers. So I think having like something defined that will make it easy for you to systemize that onboarding and training was something that I prioritized early in the year, and I'm really glad I did. When you're meeting new partners who've never heard about Noloco and you're trying to convince them to consider using it as a solution for their clients, they actually were really like pleased to hear that they could go on like a learning path on the academy and they could follow clear onboarding steps so that they felt comfortable themselves to be like, yeah, I am a Noloco partner at the end of this, So I think that was like something that I'm glad I prioritized and I'd like seen other companies doing, and
it's paying off.
Very much took inspiration from that, and it's paying off. Yeah. Until it was mentioned, sometimes people were like unsure whether they would actually continue to consider partnering. And then once they heard that existed, they were like very much, okay, yeah, let's do this. So yeah, that's like one thing that probably stands out. There's loads of other things that we've implemented as well on top of that. Spend all day talking about it, but I think that's one
of the partner program, do you feel like what has been generally the motivation behind people, new partners, especially smaller partners, to actually join? Is it affiliate payouts? Is it leads? Or is there a pattern? Like, is it a good
question.
Do you feel like it's 50-50 kind of situation where people are interested in both, or do you feel like there is a somewhat clear?
It's a really good question. Yeah, it's a really good question. I feel like, they're all the kind of parts of the, the value proposition of why to join our partner program. You have the revenue incentives. You could get leads referred to you from Noloco and all these great things. But I actually think the one that I find resonates the most, and it's one that needs to be validated themselves. But what I would always promise to them at the beginning is like, with Noloco, you're going to be able to ship a project really quickly to a client. I think that's the number one priority that these consultants have. Yeah, it's the kind of, can I go from idea inception to a fully polished solution that the client can actually start using really quickly. That's the one that when I show them the product and they actually test it out themselves. So a lot of the time they do come and have tried out Noloco before they even reach out to apply, and they're very brimming with excitement. They had the 30-day trial and they realize, okay, this is so easy to use and I love using it. It's that kind of like exciting feeling. It becomes kind of addictive almost, is what some people would say. And then they want to be a partner because they're like, right, I know I can solve problems A, B, and C really quickly. And I think speed is important to them because it means obviously they can churn through more clients, make money, and all the other stuff are just like nice
like the
added benefits on
payouts and
top.
all
But
that.
I don't see generally I don't see that usually being the driver for them to join. And I think if that is the driver for them to join, then it's actually usually a sign of maybe misaligned
expectations,
priorities, and that they mightn't be the absolute best partner if that's their kind of sole driver. So it's interesting, but that would be for me what I think
the kind of
stands out.
Commission and the lead flow. It's not differentiated. It's like everyone's offering 20% commission. Everyone's offering lead flow. Obviously, the volume is different, but what we can offer is a unique product. True. That's what we like ultimately control. And Jill's program is the kind of the mechanism which they can access that and they can distribute that. And that's the part that we're selling, not the commission, not the leads.
Darragh, I can resonate with. I can reflect on your answer. Like, stop being in support. I must admit, it was my first year, with the exception of a couple of projects that I just couldn't say no to, that I haven't actually done development. Like, I would say 95% of projects that we've taken on, I did the quoting, the initial gauging, and I gave it to the team, and my focus has really been sales and YouTube. So let's dig into your answer, which is stepping down from support. How hard was this? Because I feel like you haven't.
Well, so how hard was this? Yeah, it's a work in progress. I said stepping away, but I think there's kind of, to your point, I also, like in the last year and a half, I also stepped away from programming like all day, every day, so like I gave up. That was my first love, support was the thing I had to take on as a result.
As a result of bad programming? No, I'm kidding.
Perhaps. But no, the reason why it's such a milestone for me is, well, for one, it was consuming all of my time. I wasn't able to focus on hiring. I wasn't able to focus on improving the product. I was only focusing on supporting customers. And that was working. This is why it was so difficult. It was the more support I gave to customers, the more they were going to convert. You know what I mean? Like because it meant they didn't have to get stuck or abandon it or perhaps even reach out to our partner program, And so it was at odds with it was encouraging, but it wasn't scalable.
No, of course.
Most importantly, it was short-sighted, right? So the real achievement in me stepping away from support is being able to prove that we can train up people to offer just as good support, or maybe like I can step in when there's something more salesy, or when there's something actually going wrong, whereas I don't have to be on the front line the whole time. But then like the team can answer just as many questions, give just as good advice as I would have, So that there is the achievement.
Well, I think the training program, then, it sounds like it's the achievement.
Yeah, and honestly, that was just training by shadow.
Training by shadow.
There was kind of nothing. And again, hiring people for potential, right? If we'd hired, we interviewed people with 30 years of customer support experience, and I wasn't convinced that they were going to be any good, because Noloco it's intricate. There's a huge difference between looking up someone's subscription and saying, "Yep, you overpaid this month, we can refund you," and like looking up someone's app and saying, "Oh yeah, I see you've got 5 tables. They're linked with these lookups, but some of them are filtered, and you've got these users with these 6 roles," and this user only logs in at midnight, and
it's
this
a
is the
really
type of
difficult.
stuff
It's a really
we
difficult
see.
thing to do. Like we do
And
that
we
too.
get essays. We of course you do, yeah. And you also said it to us.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going on. But no, and so like figuring out how to scale that team, right? And having that kind of layer. But and here's the most important part. It also allowed us to identify the gaps in the product and the gaps in the education of the product, because I was acting as a crutch for a lot of our customers.
Yeah.
So I was, oh, this was complicated. Oh, you just do this. I send them a Loom. I tell them how to do it. But they haven't figured out how to do it on their own. And nobody in the future is going to figure out how to do it on their own. So by me stepping back, you ultimately get a better product. So long as I don't step back entirely, don't listen to the people who are dealing with it.
Well, look, generally speaking,
which is not what's happening.
I don't feel like we've missed out on any support. In fact, support has been stellar from day one. From an agency perspective,
that was the goal.
I think it's like top notch. I don't think we've had anybody better, to be fair. In terms of partner programs, we are in fact supporting certain platforms right now that give us zero support or like dedicated support after being with them for 6-7 years. We basically take the same queue as a normal customer would, and we personally definitely appreciate all the amount of man hours that you guys have put into supporting some of our projects. Occasionally we will ask dumb questions. Usually we try not to.
Your team are good. Your questions are usually meaty, which is usually
a
good
sign. But
that's actually what we've. It's annoying. That's what we've learned is that we've invested heavily in like AI as well for customer support. You guys don't use it, but anyone who messages through the chatbot usually gets an AI powered answer, which unfortunately means anyone who doesn't have their question answered by AI it's a very difficult question. And it's usually super nuanced. It's usually super in the weeds, and we have to like work with them over hours to get to the bottom of what they're actually asking.
Talk to me about this. That's a fantastic little point. Since introducing this AI chatbot, how much traffic has that? How many tickets has that saved you, as compared to maybe last year or the year before? When did you launch this, by the
way? We turned it on around this time last year.
So it's been a year.
Because this time last year, this time last year I was the only person doing support. I mean, Jill was helping out when I was, offline. But largely speaking, I was on the front line, and I was terrified of taking like 2 weeks off at Christmas because I really needed the break. And I was like, we need something to like fill the gap,
even for simple stuff.
And this like it was okay, but it's gotten a lot better. The impact, it gets involved in something like 70% of tickets, like almost all, and it it doesn't close all of those. It closes about 30%.
That's still decent
automatically, and then
still very good.
Yeah, no, it's good, and like they're usually simple things. Some people just use it as a search engine, like but that's fine as well. Like, because sometimes people would just reach out to support with silly questions like that anyway. So it helps, and the way Intercom have priced it, to their credit, it's pretty cost effective. So it's like $1 per.
Plus, it's an Irish company. So come on, or I think it is, right?
Yeah. It must be Irish. It is, yeah.
The CEO, I love that guy. I don't remember his name, but he's one of those early. He's outspoken, if I can put that way. Very outspoken, but I have a particular. There's something about Irish CEOs. I'm taking Ireland because you guys, the Noloco is an Irish company. There's something about them. There's something very interesting about how leaders think from Ireland. You, Kevin O'Leary, the Ryanair CEO, so much fun stuff coming from that guy. And the Michael,
O'Leary, yeah.
Okay, Michael. Yeah. So awesome, great. I don't know how I ended up here, but I think we've got time for
We're talking about the AI stuff.
I realize that we've gone a little bit over time. Let's do one more question before this format gets too old. Let's go. Okay, final question. This is it. Spin that wheel. Please be a good one. Did we do this one? I think we did that one.
That was one we forgot.
Yes, that was one that we didn't eliminate. Yeah.
Let's spin that wheel one more once.
Yeah. Okay. Down to 5.
Down to 5. Okay. All right. Do you want us to do this question, or should we spin it one more time? Because we kind of covered this.
I feel like we're going to have the same answer.
We're going to have the same answer, so I'm going to eliminate that one as well. Let's spin it one more time, although we have covered. No, we've covered that again. All right. Let's see. Did I forget to eliminate all of these? Okay, yes.
We've got quite a few.
That was a great question on the third try.
Yes.
So, what's the most exciting thing, feature, announcement, collaboration, milestone that you're looking forward to in 2025 for Noloco? Interesting. Although, let's try to be careful with some of the like, we don't want to give out too much.
Exactly.
But maybe if we could give out something that is not of huge consequence, that would be great. Or it could be abstract, like Jill likes to give.
No, I'm going to give you a straightforward answer, but a carefully considered answer, so I don't give away too much.
Okay. What am I expecting from Noloco next year? Okay. All right, I'm ready. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Final answers. So I've got offline app and more integrations.
More integrations.
Jill, what do you got? Or Darragh.
Darragh, go Darragh.
I'll go for it. This is what I've got.
Okay. I'm glad you said that one because I was going to, and then I said, actually, I bet you Darragh will say I'll say something else.
Okay. Yeah, that's true too.
Specific
use case.
Darragh, let's start with you because I feel like we've started with Jill twice already in a row. So Darragh, talk to us.
So Noloco AI is, I mean, it's pretty corny as a name, but it's something that's in beta at the moment. We're rolling it out for Noloco tables, but more generally, I'm a really strong believer in the use of AI in applications like Noloco. I think the two, sit exceptionally well together. So Jill already spoke about like AI workflows, but for a lot of people, that's not how they think about AI. And a lot of people, there's also a lot of steps. You got to set up a workflow that when something updates, you got to run a prompt and then save that prompt. And then, in reality, it should just be part of your table. So, we're not the first to do this, but we very soon will be launching Noloco AI columns where you can compute data based on AI. So it could be taking in a project spec and, bringing in a few other features from that value as well and kind of spitting out a summary. It could be extracting, end dates or start dates maybe from a customer call. Like, so if you're a prospect or if you're kind of having an engagement call with a customer, that you just have a column that's called, project start date that just, you don't have to autofill. It just gets extracted from the transcript. I think there's a lot of things, and having these as columns instead of like workflows that all have to be monitored and kept up to date and things. It's a much better way of managing that, and we're very soon going to be launching that. But more generally, I think Noloco is really just at the kind of start of introducing AI into the building experience. And we've chatted about this before, and a lot of people think it's gimmicky, but in truth, like there's most platforms have added AI into the creation process, but very few have added it into the building process, which is where you spend most of your time, right? Like, when you're building out a new table, why is it that you have to name it and then manually set up all of the columns? That's nonsensical. If you can do it with AI at the start, why do you need to do it throughout, right? So like simple things like that, where we kind of sprinkling into Noloco, it won't be getting in the way. It'll be trying to opt in, I suppose. But I think it will really speed things up, which is the goal. It'll really make things simpler. It'll mean customers, have, again, sensible defaults out of the box, and just kind of introduce them to like new patterns as well. And I think it'll also play into some of the stuff Jill talked about. So that's what I think we're going to see a lot more of in the next, 6 months.
It would be sick if we can have some kind of vision as well, like vision-based AI, not just generative from the perspective of, here's a piece of text.
Yeah, absolutely.
But dude, here's a PDF or here's a JPEG. That PDF or JPEG has got certain key dates. Put those in that column.
Absolutely.
But anyway, that's interesting. Jill, let's hear from you.
Yes. Unpacking use case specific features. So yeah, like I think you gave an example already of one that we added this year that I think very much directly impacts unlocking a use case even more, right? Which is barcode scanning, right? So before barcode scanning, the whole inventory management, warehouse management use case was, a bit hard to fully kind of systemize that workflow without a key feature like that. So that's kind of one example, I think, of one we've added this year, but I'd like to see more of that next year. Some of our most common use cases would be like CRM and project management tool. So maybe kind of fleshing out features that are really going to help people in those spaces with those use cases use Noloco, a lot easier, make it more a native experience for them and easier to kind of unlock value. So CRM, I think, is one that we're going to be focusing on in the early new year without giving too much away. But I think that is for us, like usually like the first use case or entry point use case that people may start using Noloco with. And, if we can make it an easier decision to be like, we have this one key feature that maybe isn't there right now. We're thinking something along the lines of email without giving too much away. But yeah, I think if we can have that, it gives them more of a reason to fully embrace no code instead of going for off the shelf CRM. And, what we hear from customers who are deciding between off the shelf CRM and Noloco is there's just one thing that's missing, but like there's so many other features in this off the shelf CRM solution that I just don't need. And I just can't wait for those conversations to just go away when we have more use case specific features. And like, it's just a no brainer to kind of go for the complete custom build on Noloco. With CRM usually mean the first one, and then they eventually grow and add more and more functionality around that use case, like client portals and project management tools.
Because if you can do CRM,
list
you
goes
can
on. So
bolt on so many other things.
Yeah. So CRM I think would be a good one to kind of focus in on in the early new year. And I think even project management, there's probably some cool bells and whistles we could add that would just make it really easy for people from that type of
I'm really looking forward to that.
So that's for me.
Kind of expanding on that, like we've got this super flexible baseline that's interface first compared to a lot of the other products that are tables first, and that opens up a lot of possibilities to build. Looking at the customer's jobs to be done. Maybe it's employee onboarding, maybe it's prospecting, maybe it's project management, and just building like very customizable interface elements for those that fit in with your data, regardless of where your data is stored, whether it's Airtable, Google Sheets, Noloco, whatever. Tell us what table you've got your onboarding checklist in, or maybe we help you automate that checklist experience. There's a lot of possibilities there. Because now that we've got so many customers, we're like, hey, like 20% of them are doing this every time. You know what I mean? We need to like solve that.
one of the biggest things that I'm kind of not expecting, and in fact, you know what? Scratch the offline app, remove that. I changed my answer to Noloco login-less, some kind of way to provide clients or users rather some kind of way to interact with Noloco, not in the same way that a public forum does, because right now we've got public forums, but like public versions of Noloco where at least I'm able to edit a record and maybe be able to add line items to a record. Let's say there's like a related table within a detailed view. I think that's one of those things that would make a world of difference. In the last month, like December, which is 4 days. Actually, no, tell a lie. Maybe late November up till now, we've had like in the span of a week, 2 projects that literally we need to use a different platform for a part of the project only because of that. And Noloco for the private part where people log in, but for the external, so to speak, users, we have to use something else because it makes no sense for them to log in somewhere because the type of user is not so much keen on logging in just to perform a function. Like we have one client who they're like a moving agency. They do removals, right? So you want to change houses. I'm sure, Darragh, you had to use one yourself this year with your move to Barcelona. The way that the client explained this to me is that, look, we are a company that is, to our clients, we are super important to them for a week. But prior to that week and after that week, we are not important to them. But for that one little specific small time frame, we become the center of their world because, you know, maybe they've forgotten something. Maybe they want to add services that they suddenly realize that they need. And it doesn't really make a lot of sense to force them to log in some. So that's one of the key features that I'm kind of expecting. And of course, everything that you guys have said makes a ton of sense and it will really bring sexiness, not back to Noloco, it will just bring more sexiness to Noloco, I feel. But yeah, from a marketing perspective, the barcode scanning thing is such a sexy feature because you can immediately like show people on the phone or on a tablet, you know, those 1990s marketing shots kind of come to mind.
You put some really fun videos together of this.
We try.
Yeah,
we try.
Absolutely.
Another thing I'm looking forward to is more content for Noloco from whatever perspective, whether it's new features or new concepts and how Noloco could be used. I'm kind of looking forward to having more sports-oriented clients. Like that's an interesting industry that I feel could benefit, like team management for football clubs, that kind of thing. Because there's a lot of planning that goes into something like that. Or maybe sports complexes, like businesses that for instance, we have a very big complex here in Nicosia, actually as a friend of, big complex of futsal, like football fields.
Table.
So the amount of planning that goes into a match, because not everybody is going to come in and book a field that has, you know, all 22 players or 10 players, whatever it is, 5-on-5, right? The business owners actually have to perfectly match the player skills of one guy who's bringing 3 of his friends but needs another 6 players. It's up to the owner to kind of do that matchmaking. And And that's like a fantastic little use case where we can combine Noloco for internal operations of such a business, include AI into the mix to enable better matchmaking, like remove that decision-making process. And stepping on what Jill said, if there is a great CRM function to it, very simply just email them straight from within Noloco or chat to them straight from within Noloco. So a direct integration, maybe I'm missing a beat here, but maybe a direct integration with intercom. Yeah,
chat?
something like
Something
like that would be cool. But I'm spitballing here. Definitely, there's so much potential there in terms of an industry to kind of move away from pen and paper or Excels or Word documents and whatnot. So yeah, guys, that's it from me. I think this was a resounding success. The idea was a little bit spontaneous, just from like a couple of days ago, and I'm so very grateful that you guys actually found time in your busy schedule to jump on a quick call. It's been amazing. Really love what Noloco has done. And
before we break, I'd love to pick your brain on one thing, and you're probably gonna diverge into a bit of a discussion, but we've talked a lot about the word no code, right, and how ineffective it is. One thing I've been trying to reposition it as is Flatpak software, and I'd love to get your gut reaction.
All right, so here's the thing. I'm a guy who takes things at face value. Visually, audibly, conceptually. So Flatpak brings to mind one thing: IKEA.
Does, doesn't it?
I wouldn't want
beautiful Swedish engineering.
Engineering, maybe yes. Quality, not so much. Like, yes, there are bits of IKEA furniture, and it's kind of weird how we're taking the turn into furniture. But Flatpak furniture, my dad used to be a carpenter or a chippy, not used to be, he still is. So he is, like, I grew up carrying 16 millimeter chunks of melamine up, 6 flight of stairs at construction sites, by the way. See, that theme is coming back. So I know the difference firsthand between Flatpak and custom made. Flatpak also is off the shelf. There is that notion to it.
No, here's okay. I'll pitch you why I think it's amazing, right? So, right, Flatpak is off the shelf, but it's modular, customizable, and built for purpose, right? And it's cost effective. So, if you look at the desk that I'm using right now, it's IKEA's 1 meter desk. It's like €16 worth of chipboard, right? Exactly, right? But you can choose the color, you can choose the length, you can choose the legs, and if you change your mind, you can change the legs, right? That, right? Whereas if you go to your father and ask him to build you a custom desk, it's going to cost time, money, and you're never going to change it. It'll last forever, but you're going to be, even if you need a bigger desk, you're going to keep using that crappy or the really expensive custom desk. So my argument is that someone has researched what is the best way to do something that's modular, built for purpose, cost effective, and easy to kind of fit within a design system. That's what Flatpak furniture is. And I think it's what Noloco is.
Flatpak, look, I'm sold now on the concept of what you're trying to say. I am still not sold on the term, on the linguistic side of it. I get that. Because Flatpak, unfortunately, comes with not negative connotations, but...
It does, yeah. So does no code, though.
It's got the word code in it, which is this mysterious black
and
box
the word no.
that is sexy and, code. Ooh, everybody thinks of the Matrix or like people with hoodies and that sort of thing, which is, I mean, Darragh, you fit the bill with the hoodie. By the way, I've got the same hoodie, and I keep, and I've worn it off. I need another one. We
can start there.
Look, Flatpak, yes. I feel like there is some kind of sexier term for this in terms of like.
Totally.
I think maybe the word is modular. You kind of mentioned it. One of the most interesting things is that this kind of, I mean, no code or Flatpak software still, for me, comes with a element of, I mean, there used to be a term drag and drop, right? And drag and drop comes with this, I've thrown this term again in the last half an hour, devil may care, drag and drop. Like there's some kind of dude who just throws something, drags it and throws, see what sticks kind of thing. But it really comes down to still responsibility. Just because it's no code or flat packed software, there's still an immense amount of thought that, yes, comes from the provider, the platform, i.e. yourselves, but there's also an element of know-how that you still have to have in terms of creating your database, for instance. I feel like one of the reasons why more platforms haven't introduced the AI feature of build me a database, it's because not only, okay, maybe we can build a database schema the first time that you log in, and I believe you guys do it as well. As soon as you sign up, Noloco actually creates the design of the pages, the lists, the detailed views, the forms. It comes pre-packed nicely. But database AI, for instance, it's harder because AI needs to have a certain amount of context, a decent amount of context, in fact, to create that initial design. And it's orders of magnitude harder to get it to amend the design after you've already inputted data in it and created new fields. I feel like that is a real problem for AI to step in and make changes while you're live. Well, yeah.
Basically.
So flat pack software, love the idea.
Thank you.
I don't know about the term.
Sit with it. It's so much better than no code.
Well,
yeah. Here's the other thing it does, right, Alex? It doesn't say you're a no code developer. It says you're a software developer. Your function is just Flatpak or modular. Maybe is a better term. I'm not sure. But I don't think modular does enough
modular
justice either. So there's something in between. Right. And here's where it gets even better.
Are you sure you're not working on commission for IKEA?
The analogy goes further. So I have another blog article idea called should you go to IKEA or Home Depot, right? Home Depot being a hardware store. And IKEA being no code and Home Depot being low code, or hiring a carpenter if he's going full hiring an agency or whatever, the analogy extends.
The analogy is perfect. I think the Home Depot versus Flatpak is really interesting. That is something that I definitely will.
Most importantly, even with IKEA furniture, you can extend it yourself if you know how with wood and stuff, right? Which people do with no code, which is why no code is a ridiculous term.
Well.
Because there's billions of lines of code.
I know, I agree. And it's an incredibly difficult task to not just create a product, but to create a product that creates products. Right?
Tell me about it.
That's the story of Darragh's life. But, okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna mull things over with the Home Depot analogy.
Please.
I definitely would like to thank you guys for your time. It's been an awesome chat.
Likewise, Alex.
Looking forward to 2025. It's gonna be a belter of a year.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Brilliant.
Thanks very much,
Thank
Alex.
you so much as well
Yeah,
for
my
having
pleasure.
us.
Okay.
It's been great
We'll
fun.
chat soon.
Cheers.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.